Okay, so this is an updated video on integrating Home Assistant with your Fox inverter. It's been a while since I created a video on the installation and the setup process. A lot has changed. Before it was very manual, requiring you to change files and things like that. There are really two methods that have become very popular and are well supported. There is utilizing the integration by MaxEQ, and this allows you to integrate with Fox using your cloud credentials. That's really important if you don't want to install additional devices. So just consuming the data similar to what Fox's own app does. Or you can utilize Nathan's project, which utilizes Modbus. It requires some small additional hardware. It requires you to connect some two small cables into a certain port on the bottom of the inverter. There are pros and cons to both. So for example, the cloud connector. The biggest disadvantage is that the data can only be polled every few minutes, so typically it's every 5 minutes, because your inverter is only sending those data updates every 5 minutes. Hence, it's only available in the Fox Cloud every 5 minutes, and then shortly afterwards, Home Assistant is going to be able to poll and capture and download that to your Home Assistant. So if you've got automations that require high precision, second or minute by minute, you'll find that data every 5 minutes starts to harm the efficiency of the automation. The advantage of this project and this integration method is that it's very simple to set up. It doesn't require any additional hardware. So as long as your inverter is already connected to your Wi-Fi through the Fox data logger and you're using the Fox app, you should have everything you need to make this work. With Nathan's project using Modbus, it does require additional hardware, but the hardware is fairly cheap and it's fairly easy to install the hardware, and it gives you a great deal of precision. It doesn't rely on the cloud, so if the cloud is unavailable, all of your automations continue to work, and you can poll the inverter data on almost every few seconds. It's incredibly detailed resolution. So I'll just give you a quick demo of the kind of things that you can build with Modbus. So with using Nathan's project, you can populate the Home Assistant energy dashboard system. So day by day, month by month, I can switch over and change it. Say by month, I can see everything, my grid usage and how much of that grid usage is by low carbon. Any solar I've generated, any gas I've consumed. We don't actually use mains gas during the warmer months, and hopefully by the time I next record a video we'll be using Octopus's heat pump technology, so we'll have no gas meter, but a future video. You can see what I've exported versus what I've consumed, and I've got a very small delta between what I've used from the grid versus what I've returned, whether I'm self-sufficient or not. You can see battery charge, battery discharge. I've even added individual devices so I can monitor how much my EVs are using, how much I'm putting into the water heater, how much my server environments are using, things like that. But I'm a bit of a data geek and I like everything to be recording and monitored. So in addition to energy overviews, you can also build you can do things like this. So you can see real-time data coming from I've got 3 inverters. I'm using a H1 as basically a solar inverter, then I've got 2 K series that are my main solar and battery inverters. So you get data continuously every few seconds. If we look at one of the say like the CT that fluctuates all the time, you can see a very high resolution of data. I can drill right into it and pick out specific areas and then continue to drill into it, which is really neat. So I get a lot of data there. I can change work modes, states of charge, minimum states of charge, things like that, current, discharge currents, control the work modes. You get a lot of control over here. I also put together a dashboard that gives me a real-time sort of Tesla Powerwall-esque type of view. So I can see what is going towards air conditioning, heat pumps right now, what I'm generating from solar, the house, battery, grid. I'm giving back a lot of grid right now. I can see the balance between my master and slave K-series inverters as to how they're performing, which is nice. I can see all the solar arrays that I've got, the weather, things like that. So a lot of, and everything is clickable. So I can look at, say, the state of charge and see the overnight force charge that happened. So I can look at the solar and see how that did. I can look at how much the heat pumps have been used. Everything is really interactive, and yeah, just get a lot of cool stuff out of it when it comes to understanding how my household is consuming energy. So that's a very brief overview of the possibilities, the potential of what you can do when you combine Home Assistant to integrate, or Fox with Home Assistant. I'm not going to cover how to install Home Assistant, but know there are many ways to install it on everything from a Raspberry Pi to a small microcomputer, an old laptop or an old desktop. The requirement is that whatever you install Home Assistant on, it has to stay on 24 hours a day. When the piece of hardware you're hosting this on is turned off, it will stop recording. So if you've got an old laptop or an old desktop, or you want to order a specific piece of hardware like a Pi, at the moment what's very popular is ordering used enterprise gear, like a HP microcomputer or a Dell microcomputer, a very small, not much bigger than a Matchbox type size device that you can install Home Assistant on. They even sell their own product called Home Assistant Yellow, which is built on its own board. But you need a piece of hardware to host Home Assistant on. Visit the Home Assistant website, watch the YouTube videos that they have, pick out a bit of hardware that you can install, and go from there. It's very well documented, and I'm sure in the comments of this video you'll see folks asking and answering questions about what's best to run Home Assistant on, or should I use a Modbus to LAN adapter, or should I just use a USB adapter? There's lots of nuances that you can get into, but once you've got Home Assistant installed on a piece of hardware, great, you'll arrive at this sort of screen. So here I can see, where's my mouse gone? I can see the line that I've got an IP address and a port. So I'm going to go to that IP address and port, and that takes me, if you want to look at this again, so this IP is whatever the computer is that you're running locally. So yours won't be the same as this in all likelihood, but whatever that IP says on that screen, you'll type in there, colon, and then the port should be the same. So the port for Home Assistant 8123 will get you to this screen. You want to create a new smart home, and you want to give a user a name. So I'm going to call mine Will. I'm going to create a super strong password for now, because this is a completely temporary and throwaway system, but you will give yours a nice strong password. And then you will locate your address. I'm not in Amsterdam, so you can zoom out, and hopefully I can drag this little pointer. I'm down over here. Country, United Kingdom. I'm not going to be sending any analytics to Home Assistant, but if you feel like that's something you want to do to help contribute towards the Home Assistant project, then by all means you can turn that on. It automatically looks across your local network and tries to figure out if there's anything that exists that it could automatically set up. So it's seen a few of my things. It's seen my televisions, some Chromecasts, the fact that I've got a Nest doorbell. You know, it's seen stuff. You may or may not have anything that it's already found. I'm not going to install any of that because this video is focused on Fox. Boom, here we go. We are now in the overview of Home Assistant, and I have this set up. Okay, so we've got into Home Assistant. We're going to click on Settings, Add-ons, Add Add-on, and we want to click on this link at the bottom left that says Missing an add-on, Enable Advanced Mode. So go all the way to the bottom, and somewhere on here, there it is, advanced mode. Turn that on. I don't think there's a save button, that should just work. So go back to settings, add-ons, add-on, and we want terminal. Terminal and SSH is the one we want. We don't want the advanced SSH and web terminal, we want this one, terminal and SSH. Seems to be the better one of the two. So I've clicked install, give it a second to install that, and I want to show it in the sidebar, and yeah, sure, auto update. Once we've done this, we can uninstall this plugin anyway, it's just used as a one-time. So now I've got the terminal, it's here. Again, I searched for hacks and went to the download page. I'm going to copy this installation script. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to paste as plain text and then hit enter. And I'm going to allow hacks to install. So now it's installed, it's saying that I've got to restart Home Assistant. Great. So settings, up in the corner, restart Home Assistant, yes. Give that just a moment to restart. See, it says connection lost. There we go. Hacks is okay, so it's all started. So let's just refresh the screen. Okay, great. So it's all started again. I'm going to go settings, devices and services, add an integration. Now I'm going to type in hacks. I'm going to agree to a few things, so I know that hacks. Yeah, I know. Yeah. And I want to enable experimental features. That's just I like the way that the version 2 looks when I'm using hacks. That's fine. Now I've got to do a little bit of authenticating. So I've got to copy this number, go over to GitHub, paste that number into GitHub, and I've got to authorize it. And I'm all set. Go back to hacks. Great, now hacks is all set up. I should be able to see it in here. There it is, there's hacks. It's all set up. And I've got hacks on the sidebar now. Great. Now I can browse repositories. Oh, no I can't. I've got a search up here because they've changed it in version 2. And there are the two projects. So the cloud and the Modbus, which relates to the cloud and the Modbus. Super, so we'll do the Modbus one, no, we'll do the cloud one first, because that's what most people are probably going to be doing. This requires no extra hardware, you're just going to be using your credentials that you use for Fox. So you're going to click on cloud, going to click on download, going to click on download. Perfect, so that should now be downloaded. Let's go back to hacks. Yep, and we've got, that means that it's downloaded, I think. Yeah, so if I take this off, yeah, so I've got hacks and I've got cloud installed. The cloud gives you some installation advice as well. So we've got to be editing some files, so we can always add another add-on, which is the I think it's called the file editor. There we go. So we'll install the file editor. We'll also add it to the sidebar and we'll start it, and then that will appear over here. And we'll just go back to the cloud and grab the bit we need. So it's telling us we need to navigate to the configuration.yaml and add the following. So hopefully the file editor starts up in a second. Add-ons, file editor, still starting. There we go, it started, file editor. And then we'll select the file, configuration, there we go. And then we'll paste the bit that it said. Okay, so there's a few things that we need, some of which we're going to have to use a little bit of our imagination for, because I don't want to publish all my API keys, even though I can revoke them. But the platform, so that's the code that's going to be called. So it's going to be calling the Fox platform, which is already installed through hacks, so we don't have to worry about that. Device ID, enter your device ID. the API key. Right, so we'll go over to the Fox Cloud and we'll get a few of these. So device ID, that's something that's a little bit trickier to grab. So I go over to Fox. I need to look, especially in Chrome, I need to open the developer tools, which is under the more tools option. And I would need to change it to the network tab. And then I need to refresh the screen. And I will see there's a whole bunch of these that say device ID equals. So I want to just click on one of those and I want to grab the device ID off the end of that. Don't worry, it doesn't get any more complicated than this. So device ID I paste into there. Serial number, that's easy. That is over here. Let me just grab the serial number. So the serial number is here. So I'm going to try and copy. Let me just get the device list. There we go. Serial number's there. I'm going to copy that serial number. I'm going to paste the serial number there. And I'm going to be careful I'm not accidentally adding spaces. So there needs to be just one space at the beginning. See, there I had two, and I also had a white space at the end of the serial number. So make sure that it is just like that with no extra spaces. The API key, you can get that by going, logging into the Fox Cloud, clicking on your profile, user profile, and API management. API management, and you can generate a new API key, and then you will copy it out of this box here. So assuming it was a full API key, and if you want to regenerate the key, you can just click it again and it will make the old key invalid, but you will copy the complete key without these asterisks, because when you click this button, this whole API key will be visible. So you'll copy that, and if you did it right, it should look, and I will just simulate it for effect, it should look something like that. It shouldn't have any spaces at the beginning or end except the very first one. There shouldn't be any asterisks in it, and then you'll click the save button up here in order to save that. Now you'll notice that Fox requires a restart, so you'll click that and you'll click submit, and that will then start restarting Fox for you. Great, and I'm going to just jump over to one that I prepared earlier. So once that comes back up, assuming you've entered those three things correctly, you'll be able to go to settings, settings, and then devices and entities, jump over to the entities box. And in my case, I've also given mine a name, but you'll be looking for something probably like Fox or inverter, anything like that. You'll be able to search for, even if you look for something like SOC for state of charge. So one of the ones that I've got an S2000 solar string inverter that's using the Fox Cloud, and I can see, let's have a look, PV power. So here we go, it's currently unknown, and that's probably because the Fox Cloud is down. So where the Fox Cloud isn't responding in 60 seconds, it just goes to unknown. But you can see there's some gaps in the data yesterday, and today it seems like it's pretty consistent. This is the data as of 13 minutes ago, so it will retry and refresh. You have all of these properties here, so you can use any of these to populate graphs. I believe that in the most recent version, there's also a sort of total for some of the energy stats that you will use to configure your energy dashboard. But right now, you have successfully connected your Home Assistant to the Fox Cloud, and it's giving you back all the data properties that you can use within Home Assistant. We'll cover anything more complex in a future video. So that was the cloud version. So what we'll do now is we'll go into hacks, and I'll uninstall the cloud version, and I'll install the Modbus version and show you what that looks like. So we want to search again in hacks for Fox, select the Modbus project, download. We'll give it just a second. Okay, and now, well, now we've got to restart anyway, so we'll give that a restart because we've updated it. There's Home Assistant starting back up. Depending on how powerful your hardware is, it may or may not be this quick. Great. Okay, so this assumes that you've already installed a Modbus device of some description, whether that's a Modbus to LAN or Modbus to Wi-Fi or even a USB device, and you've connected those two connections to the port on the bottom of your inverter called the comms port. So we're going to go into devices and we're going to add an integration, and we're going to look for the Modbus, and it's going to ask you, there's a really nice wizard that the project developers have created. So is it direct? So have you plugged a LAN cable directly into the bottom of your inverter, not via a data logger, but actually on some of the older inverters they had a LAN connection. If you've got anything that's new, like a K series or a H1 Gen 2, they don't have a LAN port anymore, so you can ignore this top option. But if you're running older firmware on an older inverter that did have a LAN port, this option exists for that reason. Assuming you're on brand new hardware, you either want to integrate with a USB to RS485 adapter. Google what those are and you'll see what you mean. Or you'll be using some kind of Ethernet to Modbus adapter. So I'm using an Ethernet to Modbus adapter. I've got a USR W610, a small device that I've installed next to my inverter, connected it to the Modbus ports on the bottom of the inverter in the COM port, and it's exposing itself across my local LAN. So I'm going to choose that option. It asks what device you're using. This also gives you there's a good link to decide what device is best for you. As I mentioned earlier, I'm using a USR W610. I don't believe that's the best one you can get anymore. I think some of these other ones, there's a pros and cons discussion going on as well between all of them, but I'm using this one. Is it TCP or UDP? I can't actually remember what I've got mine set up for, so I'll first of all just type the IP address that I have set up my Modbus adapter and make sure that the adapter ports are all set correctly, and I'll try TCP first of all. Oh, that looks like it worked fine. So I'll call this Fox inverter and it will create all of that, and I don't wish to set another inverter up. If you have multiple inverters like I have, you can then go through the process of setting them all up as one wizard process. You can also ask the Modbus to configure your energy dashboards for you. So I'm going to check that box, hit submit, hit finish. So now if I go back to instead of looking at entities like we did earlier on for the cloud integration, the Modbus actually appears as its own configured integration. So I can click on that. I can see I've got one device, and here's all the data that's coming back from that device. I can see all of it, and it's all refreshing in basically real time. So if I look at the total power, PV1 power, we can see that it was updated 4 seconds ago, and then that won't count on very long before it will then update again. It updates there you go, 1 second ago. So it's updating every sort of 5 to 10 seconds the exact value, which is really nice. If I go over to the energy board, I should have things configured already. So if I look at dashboards, energy, I can see it's already configured the properties to make that dashboard work. Now it will take a little bit of time for these values to have some data in them, which then enables will enable the energy dashboard to start working. It might take even up to an hour, so be patient with it. But yeah, I can now see, if I look at that device, I can see all of this data. Now we're going to build just a simple dashboard just to give you an idea. So dashboards, create a new dashboard. We'll create one from scratch and we'll call it, demo. You can call yours whatever you want. I want it to appear in the sidebar. So now I should have demo in the sidebar. There he is, right there. I'm going to click on the pencil in the top right, and I'm going to add a card. And I'm going to add a gauge, and I'm going to set the gauge to state of charge. So I want my I want the actual state of charge. I might be missing it. Discharge charge. Min. Battery. There it is. Battery state of charge. 80%. So now I've got a dashboard that's showing my battery percentage that's being reported by my inverter. I can do some interesting things like define severity. So I can say it's green up to it's green down to say 30%. It then goes yellow between 30 and 20, and it goes red at 11, which is basically an empty battery, and 10, 11%. So that will then define the severity there. I can put an entity, for example. So if I look for the PV power, I can grab that one, and it's proposing it as I can choose a different card. I could have it as an entity, say like that. I don't like why that's doing that, so we'll do PV1 power. There we go. And I've built a dashboard with my state of charge and my current power coming out of the first string on that inverter. So don't want to go too much deeper into this because you can build some pretty elaborate dashboards. But we've gone through the highest level, quickest way through, setting up the cloud integration, which, as you saw, was just 3 bits of data out of the Foxcloud interface, or the Modbus, which is a easier experience in Home Assistant, but does require some hardware to be installed at the inverter side. But it's not that complicated. There's some really great guides out there that describe how to remove the plug, how to open the plug up, and how to screw in those 2 cables you'll need for one of your Modbus adapters. Any questions, please comment below. Really interested to see what parts worked well, what parts you need extra clarification on, and that will help me prioritize any future videos. Thank you. Okay.